anytime you're focusing on your mistakes instead of your mission, you're giving your attention to the wrong thing. Give your attention to your mission. We give our attention to what we value, and we value what we give our attention to. Hey, welcome to the Everyday Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Maddie James, and I'm so excited you're here with me. In the last episode, we talked all about what everyday magic is and why it's important and how I use it to design my day and essentially my life. And I hoped it encouraged you to do the same as well. As you can hear, I am recovering from a little bit of voice strain, aka laryngitis. So bear with me here. It sounds a little bit like Jadakiss, but I'm going to muster through this episode with you. And I'm really excited because we're talking about something that's really important to me. I talk about it in the book, of course, and that is how to create a personal mission statement. And this may seem like, why would I necessarily need a personal mission statement? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today. So go ahead, get comfortable, grab your tea, your coffee, or whatever you need, and sit back and let's get into it. What's really interesting to me is that whenever it comes to finding a job or even starting a business, we are encouraged to make sure that we put together a resume or even put together a business plan. But when it comes to starting our lives, nobody tells us the document that we need to create for our lives. And this is something that is so important to me, and that's writing things down. I think we underestimate how important writing things down is when it comes to our personal lives. It's really important to us when it comes to business or when it comes to work. But then when it comes to our personal lives, sure, we talk about writing a things to-do list, and we even talk about the importance of journaling. But it's really important for us to write down our plans and our goals and also what our mission in life is. And that's essentially what your personal mission statement is. Now, for me, the reason why having a personal mission statement changed my life is because it actually gave me some sense of direction. And I know exactly what it feels like to be working, to be a wife, to be a mom, and you're going through your days and you're doing the best you can, you're getting work done, but you still feel kind of confused on if this actually matters, like what is this actually working towards? And that's why your personal mission statement is huge, because it essentially gives you your why. It becomes the personal compass in your heart on why you're doing everything in your life. And yes, it is that serious, because if it didn't, then you wouldn't have that empty feeling or that sense of anxiety because you don't really know why you're doing the work that you do. Your personal mission statement also matters because it gives you personal clarity on your life's efforts. And for me, that was something that was really important. In fact, when I first got married, I just thought that everything would fall together. I was in love. Chris is really great to be married to. And I thought that automatically, because we loved each other, everything would just fall into place. And that just isn't how it works. And even though we had been married for a while, once I had Mesa, our oldest, I also thought things would just fall together, and they just didn't, I don't know if that happened for you. It certainly did not happen for me. I really still didn't really understand what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be and why I was doing any of these things, Growing up, I always knew that I wanted to be professionally successful. I always knew that I wanted to be married, and I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. And I knew that I could have all three of those things at the same time without having to compromise any parts of my life. However, I never really named why I was doing these things or why they were so important to me. I think that as an overachiever and a type A personality, oftentimes I can just make a checklist and just start to check it off, but we also need to personalize the why. So when I got married to Chris, early on, I was just literally driving myself crazy, trying to do things that, one, he never asked me to do, things that didn't even matter or contribute to our marriage in any way. And then I was stressing myself out. I would make myself overwhelmed and stressed, and then I would take it out on him, and we would be fighting for no reason at all because these things I were doing, right, trying to randomly decorate the house or cook these elaborate dinners on a random Tuesday night when that isn't my gifting or things that I'm just naturally good at or things that I actually enjoy, it was causing stress on our household. And the same thing, as a mom, I thought that I needed to make sure that every single thing was perfect or that I needed to do all the things on my own. And that wasn't anything that Chris or anybody in my life had made me feel like. These were these self-imposed things that I had told myself, and they were just lies. And the worst part of it was that I was believing the lie. Not only did I tell myself the lie, I was believing them. So what I had to figure out was how to get out of this vicious cycle of doing things that did not matter. I was doing things that did not matter to me. I was doing things that didn't matter to my household, and I was doing things that weren't benefiting any of the really most important things in my life. And so I had to kind of sit down with myself and kind of be like, girl, what is happening? What's going on? And that's really how I discovered my personal mission statement. So it really wasn't anything deep. I sat down and I was like, okay, what's actually important to me, what actually energizes me, Now, at this point, I was really fortunate because I did already have a therapist. This wasn't anything that we had discussed as far as creating a personal mission statement. She didn't tell me to do that, but we did have a discussion about what was important to me, what energizes me, why do I feel the need to do certain things that I was doing. So that as a guide was really, really helpful. And then just being really prayerful about my life really consistently and really intentionally started to help me out as well. And for me, anytime I start praying about something specifically and with a really authentic and genuine heart and not doing it in a really performative, overly formal way, it really starts to provide clarity for me. And I'm just thankful for grace for that. Here's what I know is holding you back on creating a personal mission statement, whether or not you've ever heard of this concept, you've deeply considered it or not. The thing that's holding you back from creating a personal mission statement is probably what was holding me back. And that is that you think that it needs to be this deep philosophical thesis on your life's work, and it just doesn't. If anything, it is the complete opposite, and I know this to be true for every single person on this planet. Your personal mission statement is super simple. It is super simple, it is concise, and it is straight to the point. But that is also why you have been avoiding it, because simple is hard, because simple is not easy. Simple means that the fat has been trimmed. You're getting straight to the meat of the point and the purpose of your life, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It's not super performative. It's not overly elaborate. It doesn't have all of these big words and these big synonyms that you looked in a thesaurus to sound really smart and cool. It is so simple. It is likely in third or fourth grade level language, and it's really hard to trim all of the fat because in many cases when it comes to our lives, we overcompensate because there's certain areas in our lives that we think we're not enough and we try to overcompensate. And that is the magic of a personal mission statement. It allows you to be exactly who you are, and it allows you to make a decision and a commitment to the work that you are designed specifically to do. And that is going to be so freeing once you decide that. There really is no right, let's say this, there's no right or wrong personal mission statement, right? I know that it is in complete alignment with the word, right? It is going to, your life's work is something that is going to please God and please the people who matter most in your life. I can say that. But I will say that it is something that you get to decide. You have to operate from a place of, you really do have to operate from a place of self-honesty. And you really do have to operate from a place of discernment whenever you come up with your personal mission statement. And that's going to require you some time to sit down, rested, focused with some uninterrupted time. You're likely hydrated so you can think clearly to get to the bottom of it. Maybe you're like I was, like when I first had Mesa. I just felt like I was doing lots of work. I was going to work. I would come home. We would do dinner. We would do routines. And even though my days were busy and, even quote unquote productive on many days, a lot of times I felt unfulfilled. And that is one of the hardest things to go through when you're actually taking action, you're doing things, but you feel unfulfilled. You feel like that your work is falling on deaf ears. It's just falling flat on the ground, that it actually doesn't matter as soon as the day passes by. And my personal mission statement really freed me because it was super simple. It energized me. It excites me to this day. And what I also love is that it's even changed over the last few years. And when you create a personal mission statement, you'll learn that this is a living statement. This is a living purpose, and it'll change and grow likely as you get better and you become more clear on who you are and what you're supposed to be doing here. So my personal mission statement, and I'm sharing this with you so it can help you understand how simple it needs to be. This is not for you to think that it needs to be exactly like mine or to even take mine and make it yours or anything like that. But my personal mission statement is to honor God by living well every day and shining my light on others. To honor God by living well every day and shining my light on others. Living well is really important to me, and living well also can mean so many different things to so many different people. But for me, living well means giving my best effort, And my best is going to look different every day in every season. It looked different when I was just married and I was childless and I had a, retail job. It looked different when I had a newborn and I was an entrepreneur, but I also had 2 other kids. It's going to look different in 10 years, I'm sure. But to make sure that I show up with a grateful and clear heart and try my best every day. So sometimes trying your best is going to look different because sometimes you're on vacation and sometimes you're working on a really detailed and intense project. But whatever the season or the moment is calling for, I want to live well in that. To me, that is a way to show my gratefulness to God. And it's something that I want to make a standard in my life, which is why I'm specifically saying living well every day and not just living well. It's something that I want to be a standard. It's something that I want to be a constant, because I also know that I'm not just living my life on my own. First and foremost, I'm living for him, but then I also live my life because I have a partner who I, live and share my life with. I also have children that I'm raising. So I also understand that the way I live my life influences them and hopefully encourages them whenever I do that properly to give them permission to do the same thing too. I think all of us deserve to live well. We're not entitled to it. We all have to be willing to do the work. But what I'm saying with my personal mission statement is that I'm willing to do the work every day. I'm going to fall short some days. I know that. But if the standard is every day, then that means I'm going to show up more than not. So living well every day and then shining my light on others. It's so important for me to shine my light. It's so important for me to be light in situations that are often dark. I think we can all agree that when you turn the news on right now, that there's so much going on. There's so much going on. And even with all of that going on, I still want to be a light and I want to shine my light on others, because I don't have to dim my light to let somebody else shine, but also it takes one candle to light another. And for me, having contagious light is so, so massive to me, because to me, that is one of the greatest ways you can live your life and one of the greatest ways that you can give him glory. because he all gave us light. And, it makes me think of the song, This Little Light of Mine. And I'm like, if I can use my little light to help shine light on somebody else's light so they know to shine it, and then they know to shine it, and they know to shine it, then maybe at the end of my life, we'll have more light than darkness simply because I did what I was supposed to do. Simply because I did what I was supposed to do. And it became this ripple effect. And so shining my light on others energizes me. That's what I realize. I realize that any time that I can help someone else out, I can encourage somebody in the way that I do in my unique way. Typically, it's with my words. I love talking. Thankfully, I happen to be good at it, and I'm in a professional situation where I'm able to create opportunities to be able to do that and make a living from that. And so I want to use my gifting to do something that energizes me, which in turn helps me fulfill an assignment. So to me, I often think about, I'm like, okay, what is our gifting? What is the thing that we're good at? What is the thing that you're good at? That just comes naturally to you. And for other people, it is quite an effort, but it just comes naturally to you. In addition to, what is the thing that energizes you? And maybe that is your gifting. That sometimes overlaps. But sometimes, like for me, my gifting is speaking and it's words. But what energizes me is interacting on camera. It is, speaking on camera, oftentimes in a live capacity. And so when you get your gifting and you get what energizes you, typically you'll be able to narrow down what your mission is, which oftentimes is in alignment with your assignment. So what I want to discuss in today's episode is not only how to discover your personal mission statement, but why you need a personal mission statement and what your personal mission statement will help you do in other aspects of your life. So let's get into that. So first things first, why do you need a personal mission statement? Well, just like you need a resume to get a job, and just like you need a business plan when you start a business, and I get it, not all of these things are on the mark all the time, right? I'm sure many of us have gotten a job without a resume. Oftentimes, though, you still have to fill out an application. And to me, your life's personal mission statement is like an application of like what work you're deciding to do. And I think that's really cool. I think that's cool that you get to sit down and decide that. And a lot of us don't trust ourselves enough because of mistakes that we've made in the past. And those were moments. Those were instances. That is not your identity. So you're allowed to forgive yourself. You're allowed to move forward. You're allowed to overcome and decide what work you want to do and why you want to do it, regardless of who you once were back then. We've all made mistakes. We've all had to overcome. Don't let that become your identity. Make sure you understand and know and recognize that as an instance. Here's what's also really great about your personal mission statement. Once you decide what that is, everything else starts to trickle down from that. So for instance, our family mission statement really also helped me think about how to contribute to creating it with Chris. And it's so interesting because I did not even recognize it until a couple of years later, but I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, the family mission statement and my personal mission statement are siblings. They're not going to be twins. They're not going to be exactly the same. And then even my mission statement for my company started to resemble it. And again, did not even really recognize it. It was just something that what I think in turn subconsciously happened just because I tend to keep my personal mission statement at the front of my mind. So my personal mission statement, of course, is to honor God by living well every day and shining my light on others. Well, when it comes to our family mission statement, it's to bring joy and light to our community through freedom of expression in Christ. So what's wild is that it's like light is a part of both my mission statement and my family mission statement, which is incredible. And what this does is it draws a line in the sand of not only the kind of person you want to be, but once you design a family mission statement, and I plan on doing another episode on that, but once you do that, you can say, this is who we are, or this is who I am, and this is how we want to do life. This is how we want to do work in life in general. And so as a family, if it doesn't bring joy or light, is likely not for us. If it doesn't allow us to create freely, in expression in Christ, probably, if we're not able to do that, then we likely really won't have a match when it comes to doing that as a family, to doing any kind of work as a family. And for us, we want to do that work specifically for our community. And our community can be our village, our community could be our church, our community could be our literal neighborhood. But for us, it's about doing things for others. And what's interesting to me is that my personal mission statement specifically says to shine light on others. And I thought that was so cool. So your personal mission statement becomes your North Star with how you look at everything that you do in your life. When it comes to my company mission statement, I thought this was really cool as well, because that theme of living well really trickled down into how we create content and how I wrote my book and all of the things that have come together from my company. So at the Maddie James Company, our mission statement is to create content, products, and experiences that encourage women to thrive in their everyday lives and take the mysticism out of living well. I thought that was so incredible, because living well is such a priority of mine. It's such a priority of mine. And essentially, I want to create content that encourages others to do that as well. Even if that's not their mission statement, right? It doesn't need to be your mission statement for me to want to help you do that. And what it does is just solidifies that the work I'm doing professionally, the work I'm doing as a wife and mom, the work I'm doing as Maddie, the human being, she's in alignment, right? Because the personal mission statement, the family mission statement, the company mission statement is in alignment. And that's really what having a personal mission does for you. It starts to give your life not only direction, but alignment. Because you can have the right direction. I mean, any of us here who drive cars, you can have the right direction. But if your car is not aligned, it's going to be a really, really hard journey, because you need alignment to drive safely, to drive in the best possible way, in the safest way that you can when your car is aligned. You've got to have direction and alignment. You got to have both. Those matter in the journey. Here's the thing. I come from the perspective of being an entrepreneur. But what I want you to know is that this personal mission statement of yours absolutely should be aligned with your work, even if you have a traditional 9-to-5 gig, you have a corporate gig, you have a retail gig, even if you're a stay-at-home mom. This is all work that matters. This is all work that matters. And so your mission statement should be infused in it in some way. And so don't take this lightly. I want you to get really excited about it. It is going to be work. You may change it a few times. There's going to be revisions, and that's okay. The point of the mission statement is not for it to be perfect, but it's supposed to have purpose. It's supposed to give you purpose in how you, when you wake up and you're like, I have to do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes that X, Y, and Z will be light. Sometimes it will be heavy. But here's what I realized. In life, we're going to go through good seasons and we're going to go through hard seasons. And both of those seasons matter because the work still has to be done. But here's what I know. If you're going through hell, you want to get through it fast and you want to have direction and alignment. And so having a personal mission statement and knowing like, hey, I know on the other side of this, I'm still going to be doing work to fulfill my assignment. And so having that clarity through this personal mission statement is massive. I think we can all agree if you're going through a hard time, child, you want to go through that as quickly as possible. Sometimes we want to get through it faster, but at least if you have a personal mission statement, you're understanding why you show up every day as best as you can, why you show up as authentically as you can each and every single day, then at least you know that even the hard times have purpose. And I get it. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. But that is why having it is going to help you on really hard days, because then you won't forget who you are. Prayerfully. That's why you deciding your personal mission statement is massive. Should you do that after praying about it? Absolutely. I prayed about mine. I scribbled it down on scrap pieces of paper. I wrote it in my notes app. I revised it. I revised it again. I revised it again. And now for me, what's really, really impactful for me is that my personal mission statement got revised to the version it is now, because recently when I started writing this book, Matthew 5:16 became so important to me. It became like, it just lit me on fire. It really gave me just a heart, a clear heart, and a heart on fire for him, you know? Because it's really about shining for all to see, so that they can give him the praise. I'm not shining my light on others so that they can give me credit. I'm shining it so they can give him credit. He gets all the glory at all times. At all times. And anytime I'm doing work or living my life in a way where he gets the glory, I did what I was supposed to do. So if I happen to get credit as well, cool. If I don't, cool as well. At the moment I stopped living my life for credit, the moment I stopped doing things for credit, anytime I just have a genuine heart and don't do things for credit, but simply just to shine my light on someone else, simply out of the goodness of my heart, I flourish, I thrive. I am exactly the person I want to be. And so I encourage that for you as well. I get it. We live in a time where everybody wants to get credit. And, you know, we should all have confidence in who we are. So I'm certainly not saying that. However, what I am saying is that doing things simply with purpose, out of the goodness of your heart, because you're clear on what your mission is going to feel way better than credit from others. It really will. Because you're in complete alignment with who you want to become. And having a mission to do so, it's just giving you something to work towards. This is giving you something to work towards. And every time you do that work every single day, you become more of who you've always wanted to be. That's what makes it so magic. So, how do you come up with a personal mission statement? Well, like I said, it is going to be very simple. Remember that your personal mission statement is a verb. It's a verb. This is an action, okay? It is basically to do something for a reason. Your mission statement, your personal mission statement, it is to do something for a certain reason. For me, it's to honor God. How do I do that? Why am I doing it? I want to honor God. That's my why. What am I doing? I'm living well and shining my light on others. Real cut and dry. What you doing? Why are you doing it? You know, even with my family mission statement, it's like, okay, what are you doing? We bringing joy and light to our community, right? Or actually, that could even be the what. Why could be like we're freely expressing ourselves in Christ. Why? So we can bring joy and light to our community. What and why? Always going to be the meat and potatoes of any kind of purpose, right? Why do we create products, content, experiences for women? So they can thrive in their everyday lives. So they can understand that they can live well and that they should live well. Usually, your why is going to be to serve someone other than yourself. The personal mission statement is going to have something to do with you doing something, and it won't be for you. That's just, think about it. Any good mission has to do with serving someone else. Think about our military. They go out there and they fight to serve our country. The whole point of a waiter or a waitress at a restaurant is to serve us our food. Hey, what's your order? I'm gonna bring your food. So that's what your personal mission statement, it is going to be what and why, But the what is going to have to do with you. Your why is going to do with serving someone else. So for me, it's about serving God, serving my community, and serving women. Those are the missions that I'm on, to serve God, my community, and women. Everyday women at that. But as long as I'm serving you and I'm doing it in a way that's encouraging, that's shining light on you, I did what I was supposed to do. And so some of the things you want to ask yourself is, what matters most to you? What matters most to you? What energizes you? What do you want out of your life? What's the first thing that comes out of your mind when you ask yourself, what do you want out of your one delicious, beautiful, delicate life? And here's what you should know. Even though your personal mission statement is simple, doesn't mean that the answers to these questions will be. These are likely going to be long and detailed and very specific. Your job is to start trimming the fat from these answers and get to the meat to find out the why. So I'll tell you the truth. Once you start answering these questions and you start getting clarity and you start to decide who you want to be, you start to decide the kind of life you want to have, and you start to decide the work that you're willing and committed to doing every day to have that life and to become that person, you'll have to also be committed to simplifying to the point where you come up with the most simple version in one statement. So remember, simple doesn't mean easy. Easy means without any effort, with little to no effort. Simple means without all of the bells and whistles. It's super easy to understand, yet it's profound and purposeful. What I'm encouraging you to do is, after you listen to this episode, sometime today, ideally, but even this week, just schedule time to think this through with mental clarity. I cannot encourage you to do this enough. I get it. You're going to revise. You're going to start out with a rough draft of a statement, and then you're going to trim it down. But once you get started, my hope is that you start to create some personal momentum on it, and you get excited about getting to the bottom of it and coming up with your personal mission statement. Schedule some time out, some uninterrupted time where you are rested as best as you can be. I get it. I have 3 small children. We all have a lot going on, but one, pay attention to what week of your cycle you're in. If it's the actual week of your period, let's maybe save it for next week. But anytime you want to think about something through, you want to have great energy, you want to be as rested as you possibly can, you want to have that mental clarity and that focus. And so schedule some uninterrupted time. Honestly, just taking anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes can really allow you to start answering these questions. Use these questions, like we said, what matters most to you? What energizes you? What do you want most out of your life? Who do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to have? These can all be prompts for your journal, and you can start to trim this down. And then when you start to trim it down, you'll start to understand simpler ways and more purposeful ways to say this and get to that personal mission statement. Also, what I want you to do when it comes to what your personal mission statement is going to do, it's going to be living. It's not going to be static. Have room for flexibility. But the most important thing I want you to do is to forgive yourself. A lot of times we often look at the past and say, I would have been here a lot faster if I would have done my mission statement a lot earlier, if I would have made this professional decision earlier, if I would have gotten married sooner, if I wouldn't have done X, Y, and Z. And I don't want you to beat yourself up over who you once were or mistakes that you made. The best thing you can do with your mistakes is learn from them, but then keep it pushing. Anytime you're focusing on your mistakes instead of your mission, you're giving your attention to the wrong thing. Give your attention to your mission. We give our attention to what we value, and we value what we give our attention to. So let's give our attention to our mission instead of our mistakes. Should you acknowledge your mistakes? Absolutely. But you don't have to live there. You should acknowledge your mistakes, be held accountable for how you could have done something better, and then be aware of the lesson that you were supposed to learn and then move on. But for you to successfully create a personal mission statement that is going to help you become who you want to be, you're going to have to really lean into self-forgiveness. It's going to have to be genuine and authentic. And my favorite thing is, if God can forgive you, you certainly can forgive yourself. If he can, you can. You want to be like him? Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. And are you going to miss the mark some days? Sure. That's part of the human experience. When you miss the mark, try your best not to miss twice. And even if you do miss twice, forgive yourself and keep moving. One thing that's going to really help you as well with your personal mission statement is, once you establish what it is, right? It's going to be a simple statement. What you want to do is look at it regularly and eventually memorize it. The sooner you can memorize it, the better, because that means that it'll live rent-free in your head and it'll sow a seed in your heart, which then everything else any other decision in your life that matters will stem from that. So whether it's coming up with a family mission statement with your spouse or with your kids, whether it is coming up with a work mission statement, whether you work a traditional 9-to-5 or you have a business, everything will start to trickle down from there. How you navigate professional and personal relationships, how you navigate work at home when it comes to household tasks and habits and routines that should be put in place. You'll start to make decisions that are aligned with your personal mission statement. And guess what that'll do? It'll start to give you fulfillment. The fulfillment will come from alignment and energy. Because if you're doing things that energize you, and you're doing things that naturally come easy to you, and you're doing those things for someone else, it's giving assignment fulfilled for me. And that means assignment fulfilled for you. That's the whole point of a mission statement. So friend, I cannot encourage you enough to create your personal mission statement today. I absolutely know that it'll make your days so much more fulfilled. It won't just be aimlessly busy or just simply productive. It'll be personally fulfilling for you because it's attached to something bigger than yourself. Your life's work is bigger than yourself. It's going to serve others in this lifetime and prayerfully in other lifetimes as well. So I'm encouraging you to ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself the questions like, what energizes you? What matters most to you? What kind of life do you want to have? What kind of person do you want to be? Who do you want to serve? Why do you want to serve them? You also want to make sure you understand why a personal mission statement is important to you. For me, it was important because it felt like the work that I was doing as a wife, as a mother, and even as an entrepreneur, I was starting to be resentful that I was getting these things that I had prayed for, that I had worked for, and then the work was just starting to feel really empty. And that was because it wasn't tied to something other than me personally getting credit or me being acknowledged for doing a good job. The other thing that you want to understand when it comes to your personal mission statement is that it's going to make other decisions in your life just start to flow so easily, and not easily, but real seamlessly. You'll be able to make decisions with much more discernment and decisiveness because you're clear on what your mission is. So I'm really excited for you because coming up with your personal mission statement is going to change who you are as a person. It's going to change the wife you are. It's going to change the mother you are. It's going to change the employee you are, the entrepreneur you are, the freelancer you are, just simply the person you are, because you're clear on what direction you're going in and you're going to be aligned as you go in that direction. So if you are still here listening to this episode, thank you so much for listening. I absolutely hope that you've gotten the chance to rate and review this podcast. If you haven't already, go ahead and give this podcast 5 stars and give it an honest review. It helps other people discover the podcast so they can listen as well. Well, I hope you're having a fantastic day, afternoon, or night whenever you are listening. Remember that you matter and every day does too. So you might as well make it magic. Love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'll talk to you guys at the next episode. Bye for now.